Here's a little known fact. Women were among the very first to brew beer ever.
What? Women were actually the first to cook something? Basically what brewing is, right? Is cooking. Now you want to pipe down, Toots, and maybe grab me a beer so I can record this video?
He's unbothered.
What's up, everybody? Ty Rivera here, the absolute best LGBTQ comedian in the world. Before we get started, I'm just going to ask that you like, comment, and subscribe. If you want to comment but you don't know what to comment, just put a knife.
From Mesopotamia to the Middle Ages to colonial America, women were the ones doing the brewing. Centuries later, how did the industry pay homage to the founding mothers of beer? They put us in bikinis. Wow.
Bitch, what do you mean, wow? They put you in a bikini and told you to take a fucking load off, be some eye candy for a while, stop cooking shit, stop brewing, stop having to pay attention for a few minutes, tune out a little bit, just be a hot piece of ass? You're right, that is very insulting. How dare they?
Look at this wild. It's time beer made it up to women. So today, Miller Lite is on a mission to clean up.
Okay, just really quick. What exactly does beer have to make up to women? Because women that were spokespeople for different beers have actually done really well for themselves. Like Kathy Ireland, she was like a Sports Illustrated girl. She was also in a Budweiser commercial. She at a point was one of America's 50 most successful women in Forbes magazine.
And you just can't forget the Budweiser. Why?
Being eye candy in a beer commercial was actually part of her road.
It's the official beer of Ireland. Kathy Ireland.
To becoming one of the 50 most successful women in America. Pam Anderson, if you don't remember Pam Anderson, her entire career started because of Labatt's Blue beer, and she was a Blue Zone girl.
Pam is 21 years old when she goes to a football game in Canada. While she's in the stands, all of a sudden, she says the cameraman for the Jumbotron zooms in on her. Pam was wearing a form-fitting crop top t-shirt featuring Labatt's Blue. Labatt's gets in touch with her. Pam also ends up being featured on a poster.
Playboy found me through that.
Which kicks off her acting career.
Yeah, that was it.
So Pam Anderson, Kathy Ireland, let's not forget the Duchess of Sussex herself.
More taste or less taste?
Miss Meghan Markle was also specifically a Miller Lite girl. Yeah, Meghan Markle in 2010, the Duchess of Sussex. It was part of her road too. So when you make it seem like these beer companies have a lot they owe to women, I don't know that that's necessarily true. Then I also lived in Las Vegas for a long time, and there's the different sponsorships from the different alcohol companies, but in a lot of cases, the beer companies that will sometimes find these girls in these small towns and then take them to places like Vegas or LA, and that's where they start a decent modeling career. But to make it seem like it wasn't something that they went for, it wasn't something that they in some cases starved themselves to look good for, prayed that they would book the commercial or book the ad or be able to be the standee. So, and if you don't know what a standee is, that's like that cutout. Sometimes it's The Rock, sometimes it's John Cena, sometimes it's a beer girl, but that's what they call a standee. Anyway, sorry, I keep getting outraged because I think this commercial is idiotic, and not just because it's woke. I don't really care that it's woke, even though I think these beer companies are stupid, because I don't know why you're trying to appeal to woke people with beer when woke people are going to drink a White Claw. Woke people are going to drink an IPA. Woke people are not worried about Miller or Bud Light. Bud Light is for Mexican. Never mind.
Not just their but the whole beer industry's Miller Lite has been scouring the internet for all this and buying it back so that they can turn it into good for women brewers. Literally, good How, you ask? Ladies, take it away.
First, we turn the bad into compost.
Okay, I should have known dykes were at the bottom of this. And also, can we stop? You're gonna give up some of your favorite memorabilia so this fucking dyke can make some mulch? Is that what you're telling me?
Then we feed compost to worms.
My guess is a fair amount of it they're gonna sell on eBay and make a profit. You know, I just don't think they're gonna be that wholesome and on the up and up about it. I think one day they're gonna start a museum full of memorabilia from the different beer, and that's gonna be a part of it, and it's gonna be an homage to women and some of your stuff that you're gonna send in, even though that poster is what you've been jerking off to since you were 15 years old. You're gonna give it away because you've got a stroke of conscience, no pun intended, and now all of a sudden you're like, oh, I'm gonna use my bad shit for good shit. Sounds like some bullshit to me.
Push out beautiful fertilizer. That good helps farmers grow quality hops.
More dykage.
Which is then donated to women brewers to make their own really good
We even got black women involved in all this. Black women, okay, I'm gonna let you make your money too. You know what? This is the modern equivalent of being a bikini girl. Like if being a bikini girl was demeaning back in the day and they mistook it for empowerment, let's say that's the premise we're going on. Doing woke shit now for women and making a fool of yourself in these kinds of commercials, this is the degrading yourself that we're gonna look back on in 20 years and be like, boy, were they being dumb bitches.
But there's definitely more shit out there. In your attic, in the garage, in your parents' basement. Send any shit you got into Miller Lite and they'll turn that into good shit too. Oh. So here's to women.
I don't know why she acts surprised. She should know what shit smells like. It's been coming out of her mouth for this entire commercial.
Because without us, there would be no beer.
You think we don't know that without women there wouldn't be no beer? Who do you think usually runs to the fridge to grab it, dummy? It says like they did tons of good shit with it. I'd be willing to bet that little palette is about the amount of stuff they got out of that. I know it's supposed to be like to help women, but can we just stop being stupid for a minute? So that's the commercial that got everybody in an uproar. And I knew that girl looked familiar. That's Alana Glazer. She was from the show Broad City.
The student has become the teacher.
Yes, queen. Yes, queen.
Which was a big deal on Comedy Central a couple of years ago. And I'm sure she's never done anything at all degrading as an actress or portrayed herself in a sexual manner at all. I'm sure she's completely stayed out of that. I'm sure if you asked her to do something like that, she would clearly tell you to suck it. I'm sure of it. I'm sure she didn't get involved in any of that when she was in the acting world. And I just don't understand why these companies are trying to switch, going from sports guys and frat people that are their bread and butter, and instead deciding that they want to go for what? The gays and the women? I mean, like, I'm not saying gays and women don't drink beer, but they're not driving the market. And I haven't known any gay people, or women for that matter, that have been worried about beer commercials being particularly sexier. I think the bikini model are something that we've all pretty much grown accustomed to. They're a part of American culture, and yeah, maybe we've shifted away somewhat from that, but you still expect to see it. It's just a part of our society. It's not something we need to stamp out. We don't need to stamp out everything that's just fun in society. You know, sometimes it is nice, even as a gay man, just to see a hot bitch in a bikini drinking a beer or advertising whatever the fuck she's advertising. Sometimes I want to see that. Sometimes I don't give a fuck about the fat bitch that wants to tell me about how everybody's so ableist because she takes up 2 seats on an airplane and the rest of us are straight-sized, which is an actual term, straight-sized if you're not fat. It's just like, can you stop? And you know who's probably really sitting in a corner with their wig on sideways, smoking a cigarette? Zima. That's who's probably really trying to warn Miller Lite right now. I could just picture Zima like, honey, don't end up like me. The fags and the bitches are a road to nowhere. I came on the scene in 1993. Picture it. I was in every fag bar and every 13-year-old girl's slumber party. I was the belle of the ball. People would order me with a little bit of lime, splash of grenadine. I'm responsible for more fags getting AIDS. I need to grow up. I admit it. By 2008, I was washed up. Nobody wanted anything to do with me. Don't go chasing fags and woke bitches. Stick to the frat boys and the whores that you're used to. Don't end up like Mimi, huh? Smearing off ice is even further back with her wig, even more crooked lipstick smeared like, he ain't lying. But yeah, Zima was marketed towards the gays and women. I was a Zima drinker. I was a lime and some grenadine type of girl. That's how I actually know that. Zima was, if you're not familiar, it wasn't a beer. It was a malt liquor, but it was a clear malt liquor. Malt liquor is usually dark. Anyway, I'm sure Zima's like, girl, don't end up like me. Just make your little money, boo-boo. And Miller Lite, what they really should have been upset about, and this is on a serious note, but Miller Lite should have been upset about the fact that Bud Light got to the first. Bud Light got Dylan Mulvaney, and really Miller Lite, and I say this as a person that's been in the community for the last 30 years, Miller Lite was the one that was actually in the bars when almost nobody else wanted to be in the bars, because you have to remember, at first the distributors didn't want to go to the gay bars. They didn't want to be associated with the gay bars, so there were only certain distributors that would actually go to the gay bars, especially if you were in places like Phoenix, Vegas, because believe it or not, Vegas when it comes to gay was actually very conservative. Even when I went there in 90 something, that I first got to Vegas, and when I first came out, I was in Phoenix, and I remember that Miller Lite was our beer, and that was just because they were the ones that actually would send their distributors to take care of the gay bars. And so Miller Lite should have been upset that Bud Light jumped on the gay train first and actually branded themselves with Dylan Mulvaney, because Bud Light, as I said earlier, has typically been known as like a Mexican-American beer. And then, you know, there's the white people, which I'm not trying to say that they weren't. But yeah, I'm sure if you were to look at it in demographics, Mexican-Americans are a huge part of Bud Light sales. Budweiser, Native Americans. Bud Light, Mexicans. But yeah, so I think that maybe Miller Lite should have been upset about that and should have been like, hey, we've been taking care of the for so long. We were in plastic cups at the first parades. I think that's the way Miller should have been about it. Was like, stay off my corner, bitch. You think you're the first one to ever get a cross-dresser woozy in a jacuzzi, horny in a hot tub? Okay. But Bud Light did learn its lesson on being woke. And then Miller Lite should have just pulled this, because apparently this was recorded before that, you know, as for International Women's Day, I believe it was. But it just didn't make any waves because there was nothing special about it. So they should have just quietly pulled it when all that stuff was going on with Dylan Mulvaney. They should have been like, let's delete this. Nobody knew it was out there. Nobody needs to know it's out there. But anyway, this really has just been me venting, because I'm so tired of people trying to be this holier than thou and not understanding that sometimes things that maybe some people would consider to be some kind of degrading or whatever weren't necessarily degrading and didn't really have to be the biggest deal in the world, and can sometimes just be like, yeah, maybe we have moved on from that, but that doesn't mean it's bad shit and it now needs to be turned into good shit. Sometimes shit is just shit. Sometimes shit's just old shit. Sometimes shit's just shit we don't do anymore. Sometimes shit's just shit we moved on from. Sometimes shit's just shit that got tired. And sometimes, like this commercial, shit's just bullshit. So get a life, get over your shit. I'm gonna be working on my shit. I hope you enjoyed this shit. Let me know what you guys think down below in the comments. This has been Ty Rivera, the absolute best LGBTQ comedian in the world.